started. So this week we're going to be going over patch 13.17 and doing a rundown on the new / adjusted units, augments, traits, everything you need to know in order to gain LP on this new patch. This is the last patch of set 9. So for those who are still playing on the live servers and not the PB, then this is the video for you. For the next, I think almost 2 weeks, there's around 12 days left of the set. So let's get started. We're going to start off with some major changes, and then we're basically just going to go over all the comps with the best legends on this patch. There's a little bit of adjustments, nothing too crazy for the last patch of set 9, but there are some adjustments, especially to rogues. Finally, we have the rogue changes, so I'll be going over what they are and how to play Noxus differently now. Okay, so let's just go over overall major changes first. Big buffs, nerfs, and adjustments. So a couple of buffs, we have Jhin, Katarina, Bel'Veth, Cassante. So Jhin, not only did he get a plus 80 buff on the Ionia bonus. So originally it was at 30, and then they nerfed him down to 20, and then they buffed him up to 25%. And that's pretty good because it's a percentage bonus. And now that, well, a couple of patches ago, it was Samir who got nerfed, so then our one cost 80 carries, they were just both nerfed. So now this little buff actually gives you a somewhat valuable carry of 80 items or physical damage items in the early game, and also he gets a bit of an adjustments. Now whenever his cast target dies, he'll retarget to the nearest enemy, not the furthest, so this can save you a lot of HP early. So Jhin is got buffed. Katarina I'll talk about on the next slide. Bel'Veth got just damage buffs, which is super good for her scaling. And the newest buff, and the newest important one, Cassante, now whenever he casts, he heals himself for 10% of his max health. So that is super good. Cassante wasn't performing too well. He would normally just kick out one unit and then die. So now hopefully this will help him stay alive a lot longer. And this is a big buff to Shurima comps. Couple nerfs. So Shen, he has a max mana nerf. It increased by 10, so now he's just not as good. Also, I think there's been 2 consecutive Bastion nerfs in 2 patches in a row, so this is just targeting the Ophelia's Bastion comps, and it is now simply, I think, good. I don't think it's great or OP anymore. It's just good. Rise Bandle City has been nerfed, so now before, whenever you would 2-star your Rise, any units that he pulled in would be equal to a star level. So now this is no longer the case. It will just be 1-star level or the star level of whatever is on your bench. So it's not automatically upgraded to 2-star. So that's a good change for that. And if he's at 3-star, then it's different. But 3-star 5 cost is basically insta-win. Okay, the last one, adjustments. So Senna, she used to be a really good support unit where you would just get her to cast as many times as possible. Basically just give her a Shojin or a Protector's Vow or Chalice, something to just get that cast as soon as possible. However, no one was really itemizing her with damage just because her ratios weren't good. So what Riot did was they changed Senna from a support unit to more of a carry unit. So now her 80 ratio is increased. So now we can start putting some 80 items on her and we'll be seeing some success. And they lowered her shield amount. So now she's less support and more of a carry unit. Okay, so moving on to traits. Rogues is one of the biggest buffs. So they finally fixed it at the end of the sets. So now Rogue, the consistency should be improved. So Rogues will actually dash to the backline. And this is really big because now this enables Katarina to actually be like a somewhat reliable carry or like at least assassin. So they also changed it. So now whenever she takes damage and let's say she takes damage, brings her to full mana, what used to happen before this patch is she would cast and then her rogue would proc and then she would dash back to her actual daggers, so none of the backline would actually take damage. But now if that were to happen, she's going to dash first before casting, so she will actually damage the backline, which is really big. That's basically what both of these lines are saying. So this now makes Katarina more a viable and reliable assassin for the backline, and this really buffs up rogues and Noxus. The next one is strategists. They increased the HP shield for the frontline strategists by 50, 50, and then 100. And this is really big because not only is it this HP amount in general, it's per unit in the frontline. So if you have like four units in the front line, which you normally do in the Luxus Zero comp, and you have like four Strategisten, that's 100 HP each, so extra 400 HP shield in the front line. It's a pretty good buff, and the comp is already really strong. So adding a buff on an already strong comp just makes it even better. The first one here I forgot to mention, Bastion is just a little bit of a nerf. It's just 5 at Bastion 4 and Bastion 6. It is technically doubled in the first 5 seconds or first 10 seconds. So this is like a 10 armor, 10 magic resist nerf for the first 10 seconds. Honestly, it's not that much, but it has been decreased so much over the past couple patches. This is like, I think, the second consecutive Bastion nerf, and then 2 consecutive Shen nerfs in a row. So just plenty of nerfs. Also, Targon got nerfed as well. Targon 2, Targon 3, and Targon 4 got nerfed. So this is all just Targon the Aphelios comp. Aphelios maintains like untouched, so Aphelios is still fine. But the supporting units around this carry have definitely been nerfed. The last one is Void. So Void in stage 4 has been nerfed, especially regarding Baron. So if you hit 8 Void super early on stage 4, either you're playing Earth and you get that Void +1, or you just somehow get a Void emblem, or even like 2, and you get your Baron on stage 4, it's decreased in power. But in stage 5 and 6, it's increased in power. So what they're trying to do is it's less of an early giant like power spike where your Baron just kills everything early, but it is stronger later and hopefully nets you that top 4 instead of a 5th or a 6th. Okay, the last one is augment changes. So they buffed a lot of augments that weren't being taken just because the actual effects of the augments just did not work very well. So for example, binary airdrop is the first one. They used to just give random items whenever, like for the bonus items of this airdrop, but now that it actually fits the champion's rules better, it will actually be pretty good, and it'll be like catered towards the actual champion, so we can more reliably get suitable third items on our units. So binary airdrop is definitely a lot better now. Birth of President is extra 1 gold, so now it's up to 2 gold every time you level, so that's pretty decent. A little bit of a buff. Lucky Gloves, it gives you 3 gloves now instead of 2, so that's pretty good. And then the Scrappy Inventions, this is an augment that very few people took. I think I've taken it once this set. Now it gives you an extra component, and your max upgraded components for Scrappy Inventions Plus for the upgrades is 5 instead of 4. So these are just some augments that are very rarely taken. Now they have some buffs and they actually have some merits and are pretty good. However, nerfs Demacia Crown, Vertical Demacia got buffed, and the fact that it would give you an actual Ginsu's Rage Blade right off the bat was too strong, so they removed it and just gave a bow instead. And then Final Grab Bag, so this is the Earth augment. It got nerfed the gold a little bit, not too much, just 2 and 3, but the Earth augments were performing super well. Okay, so now that we just talked about some overall major changes, let's get into the comps and legends that you should be playing on this patch. So best legends, I think Poro is honestly just one of the best. Poro and Earth together, I play Poro every game right now. Basically, you just have a higher chance of seeing these like strong, powerful combat augments, long distance pals, like tons of stats, any of the like cybernetics, so cybernetic leech, all that. Any of these non-legend augments, you just have a higher chance of seeing these, so I think Poro is great. Also, as I mentioned on the previous slide, there's a lot of non-legend augments that just got buffed, especially the prismatic ones, so I'm excited to try those out. Other one is Earth. I think Earth has always been good. Not only is the tome on 2-1 just pretty good, and then you play around that, the other Earth augments are also really good, especially at providing like extra items and really ensuring that you get full items on your carries. Although there was a nerf to the Final Grab Bag gold, it's very small. It was like 2 gold and 3 gold, so it's still fine. And with the buffs of Shurima units, so Renekton also got buffed. So now in Shurima you have Renekton and K'Sante that got buffed. And then Strategist got buffed as well. This makes tomes more valuable if you are to get a Shurima or a Strategist and cater for one of these. So I'd say Poro and Earth are the best. There are a couple other niche ones. So like Yi and Kate are also legends that you may see in your games. Honestly, it's a very niche legend. If you're playing Yi, then you're most likely forcing either Demacia or Aphelios. However, with all the Aphelios comp nerfs, it's just not as good as it used to be. And then Caitlyn, you're only playing Caitlyn for the Stars Are Born gold augments for the early game win streak. And honestly, it's good. Some people pull it off very well, so if you want to try it out, go for it. However, you're only playing this legend for that 1 out of their 9 augments, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing your legend. Okay, so our first comp is Vertical Shurima. As I mentioned, there's like a lot of new buffs. So K'Sante got buffed, Renekton also got buffed, Azir got buffed last patch, so just super good. Here are the details up here. But basically for Vertical Shurima, you're going to need a Shurima +1. So this is where Earth comes in super handy, that 2/1 Ancient Archives, even those like Ancient Archives 2, it gives you a higher chance of seeing or of getting a spat. And then also Bandle Cafeteria, the region where it just gives you a spatula, and then Rod plus spatula gives you that Shurima +1. Late game, you'll be putting it on your Jarvan, and he will also be giving you Strategist. So this is a magic damage comp. You could carry Akshan or dual carry Akshan, however, without Deadeye, and Akshan has been nerfed a lot ever since his like Supreme days, he's just not that great of a unit. Is your best in slot? Because this is such a stall comp and you have so much frontline, Rage Blade is better than Rapid Fire Cannon here, just because you have so much time to stall and like ramp up. Shiv for that magic resist shred, and then Gunblade is to keep the rest of the team healthy as you're ramping up and everyone's healing HP, you're healing them, you're ramping up your attack speed. It just works super well together. So this is your best in slot. You could also swap out the Gunblade for a Giant Slayer or a Guard Breaker or a Jewel Gauntlet, but I would most likely stay with Rage Blade and Shiv. +1. Tank items, they'll be going on your Nasus. It's better than Jarvan. Your blue buff or your Warmogs can go on a K'Sante. However, your actual like resistance items like your Bramble Claw, your Dragon's Claw, or your Bramble Vest, your Dragon's Claw, your Gargoyles should be on your Nasus instead. With the K'Sante buffs, he benefits a lot from having maximum HP now, so hence the Warmogs. And then blue buff just to help him cast easier. It reduces his maximum mana from 60 to 50, gets more casts often, maybe he kicks off even 3 people off the enemy board, and it's super good. Best legends, Earths for the Shurima or Strategist spats, and then Poro just for combat augments. Ascension is a super good augment in this composition because of so much stall, but I don't think taking Vladimir or Veigar is worth it. However, if you do get Ascension from your regular Poro augments, then that's definitely a really good augment. Transfusion got nerfed, so I would not recommend playing Vladimir anymore. Yeah, that's all. That's the first one. Azir is kind of the other version of this comp. You do this if you don't have a Shurima +1 and you have Lux items. So it's still a magic damage composition. Lux best in slot is super simple, so blue buff plus Jewel Gauntlets, and then you just pray that your Radiant item is anything but Morello. Morello just is the worst Radiant item, but they're fixing this in 9.5. If your Jarvan also has 2 items, what you can do is if you do roll Radiant Morello, then you could just bench the Jarvan, so bring him onto your bench and then put him back in, and then now the Jarvan will win the tiebreaker of the Demacia item, and then if it's like a good Demacia item on him, then go for it and then just leave it for that round. Azir best in slot, I already talked about. Tank items will go on Nasus, mana items go on Jarvan. Jarvan's not an actual tank, he's just a CC unit, so he doesn't have any self-sustain, no shields, no healing, no resistances. So put your tank items on Nasus, he benefits a lot more from that. There is a strategist buff, so that's why this comp is coming up again. And the best legend I'd say is Poro. Any combat augment. Long distance pals is a really good augment in this composition because you have 2 carries that could benefit from this and give each other stats. Jewel Lotus is also good, and tactical superiority because you have so many, or not so many, it only works with like if you have the trait active, but you have strategist active, so this augment is super good. This is how you'd position against like single target comps. So things like challengers, you could stack your 2 AP carries together and they just burst down one side. However, if you're against like other Jarvans, or especially like a Zon Jarvan, if there's like a Piltover cash out and they have like 6 on, then you definitely need to like spread your carries out so they don't get clumped together and die. Okay, Shadow Isles, very good. Kalisto remains unnerfed, and Kalisto is really broken. I'd say probably one of the best, if not the best, early to mid game units. So if you do see Kalisto, especially with Rage Blade, then this will definitely, you're definitely gonna have a good early game. Shadow Isles, similar to the Shurima comps, requires that +1, hence the Earth recommendation. Kalisto best in slots. So Kalisto, you just want to have as much attack speed as possible, really like to stack as many spears as you can as fast as possible, so then you can pull them out and like kill the single target. It's really good against tanks, because instead of like whittling them down and then they keep shielding themselves or gaining HP, once you get enough spears on them, they'll just get popped and like one shot from there. So make sure to position Kalisto in front of the enemy tank. Best in slot is Rage Blade +2. Honestly, you can even just make like 2 Rage Blades, but it's very flexible after the first one, like Jewel Gauntlet, Gunblade, any of these are fine. If there's a lot of CC on the enemy team, then Quicksilver works as well. In this comp, you will be playing, or you'll be putting your Shadow Isle spat on Shen and putting your tank items on Shen, and you're going to be carrying Gwen and Kalisto. So Gwen items, Spark, Jewel Gauntlet, and then Hodge or Archangel's Staff. Blue buff is not good on Gwen. Don't get baited by her low mana cost. Because she is melee, she'll be taking damage, and the enemy will be feeding her mana, so she'll be casting a lot. So it's much better to have more damage than it can more cast, because she'll be casting anyway from being hit. Okay, best legends Poro just for combat augments, and then Earth for that Shadow Isle spats. Now that Senna is a carry, you don't have to be just putting like Shojin or Chalice on her. It's still really good. However, you can also itemize her as a carry. Okay, this is a comp that seems to not be played anymore. I think people just do not know how to like play it properly, but I've been playing this, and it very niche scenarios, but this is like a first place comp. So Piltover Zeri, it's Piltover 4-Gunner Zeri. I'd only recommend playing this Zeri unit if you have 4-Gunner. 4-Gunner got buffed last patch, but it was like the B or C patch, so it wasn't at the very start, so this is still pretty recent. They buffed the 4-Gunner and the 6-Gunner. 6-Gunner is a bit hard to fit. Also, you have to play Tristana, so most of the time you just play 4-Gunner, but there's a buff to that, and that's why this is good. I'd only play this from Piltover 2-1 or like Piltover 2-2. Even like 2-3 is fine, but anything after that is a bit too late. And Zeri best in slot, Rage Blade, Lost Whisper if you don't have Heimerdinger, which is going to be most of the time, so Lost Whisper is super good. And then your +1 can be anything like damage related, except for IE. No Infinity Edge, don't do it, it's not great for her. You need some form of Sunder, hence the Lost Whisper or the turret. And then best legend for this, there's no like legend tailored augment that benefits this comp, so Poro is going to be the one to go. It's super good. Once you're going to cash out your T-Hex once you get to 20. 20 is when the T-Hex gets the Dragon's Breath or the Dinosaur Breath. And then you send it either on level 7, or if you're super rich, depending on the region or anything, even level 8. And then you cash out the T-Hex, you collect all the goods, you even keep the T-Hex now, and you win out from there. And yeah, very good. If you don't have Senna and you have like a Gunner emblem, then you could play Urgot instead, and then put the Gunner emblem on him. Okay, so yeah, Zeri still really good, but like very niche scenario for Gunner Zeri. Next one is Noxus, so it's been changed a little bit. It's going to be more playing around the rogue now. Now that Katarina is actually more of a consistent carry, you actually want to be playing traits that like cater her instead. So Darius best in slot was always like a little bit like not clear, but now we have like a better like understanding of it. He needs healing and he needs consistent damage. So healing is going to come from your Bloodthirster, and then your 2 damage can be a Hodge plus Infinity Edge, so a combo of these two together. I think Infinity Edge is only worth it if you have Hand of Justice, so then your crits multiply and you actually like get benefit from the Infinity Edge item. If you don't have Hodge, then I would recommend not building Infinity Edge, even though it got a little buff. Lost Whisper is actually really good on Darius. Deathblade because his ult scales so well with attack damage, and then Giant Slayer for getting through those early tanks. Regardless of your items on Darius, if you have a 3-star Darius with 6 Noxus, if it gets to the backline, it's going to kill it in like 1 ult, maybe 2. So the biggest problem about Darius is getting through that front line. So hence the Giant Slayer and the Lost Whisper, make sure you Zephyr the opposite side. So then this unit will get Zephyred and Darius can just walk in freely and start causing trouble. Katarina best in slot, Spark, Jewel Gauntlet, Hodge. You want to be having these 2 units on the same side basically the same side as like the enemy carry. And yeah, it's really strong. It's very side dependent, so make sure you're scouting. But if there's like an Aphelios in this corner and this is your setup, there's nothing in front of it that can save it. This unit is being Zephyr, Darius is walking in doing damage, Katarina is going to be hitting all this, and then once her Rogue procs, dashing to the Aphelios or the Zeri or the Lux at 0. So super good. What you're going to be doing is on level 7, you're either going to be slow rolling for Katarina 3, Darius 3. If you are contested, which you might be now, once people pick up on the fact that Katarina is actually pretty good now, you might be contested. Just push levels if you're contested and play a Juggernaut. Best augments for Noxus, either Poro or Earth. You could play 6 Noxus anyway without any +1s, but you're going to have to be playing Cassiopeia, and she's not that good. So if you do get a Noxus spat, then make sure you Noxus your Echo. You can even go for 3-star Echo now, and then, yeah, pretty good, and definitely something to consider. Okay, these are comps that I've mentioned before, however, there's a bit of changes to them, so you see just exactly how many nerfs are coming to this Aphelios comp. It's still, like, good. I wouldn't say it's great, and it's definitely not OP anymore. You do not want to be taking Vladimir, and you're still most of the time going to be rolling down on 7 and playing for Aphelios. Best in slot Aphelios, Ginsu's, and Deathblade. You need this for sure. Your +1 can be Guardbreaker, Titan, Sniper's Focus. Giant Slayer is okay. I don't think it's that great of an item. Guardbreaker is a lot better, especially with so many shields in this meta. Titans is good and Sniper's Focus is great. You basically just need attack damage on Aphelios, so hence the Deathblade and the Titans. Augments like You Have My Sword, long distance pals or social distancing is good too. But social distancing also got a nerf, so now like the nerfs are just starting to pile up. You have your Bastion, your Targans, your Sheds, your social distancing. Is not looking great. Even like Urgot's been getting nerfs. So yeah, if you have the spots and you have the items, then it's definitely still fine to play. However, it's just less forceable and it's easier to be punished. Best Legends is Poro or technically Master Yi. As I just mentioned, I wouldn't force it, so that's why I don't think Master Yi is that good. But in this comp, you just want any combat augments to boost up your team. Next one, 6 Challenger, still really good. I don't think there's been any really big changes. Like Shen got like a +10 mana nerf, or on his max mana. Sorry, my mouse has been tripping out, so I can't even write very properly. But yeah, it's still really good. Kaisa best in slot, Shojin, you need Jewel Gauntlet in order to crit, and then your +1. Hodge for crit multiplier, Guardbreaker for crit multiplier, or Sniper's Focus for damage amp. Best in slot for Yasuo is Edge of Night +2. Once again, either this Hodge plus Infinity Edge combo. If you don't have it, then I would not recommend Infinity Edge, so I actually don't think this is correct. Sorry about that. Titans, Last Whisper, Runons, Death Defiance, these are all super good too. You're going to be on level 7 for a lot of this board. I've done a challenger guide before, so if you're interested, then go check that out. But basically, this is your board. Always go for BF Sword if you have no open components. And then if you do get +1 challenger, make sure you put it on either Heimerdinger, Aatrox, or Senna, and you drop your Samira. Combat augments, you take Poro, and this is your top 4 board, hopefully. Next one is Sork. There's a little bit of a nerf to 2 Sork. It goes from 10 to 7, but 6 is untouched, and you're going to be playing 6 Sork most of the time. You only play this if you have Sork +1. Same thing, Earth, Bundle, Cafeteria. We've talked about Lux best in slot. Tark or Swain, just depending on whatever you have like 2-starred early, is Spark, Sunfire +1. Honestly, both are fine, or for like carries, but you need some sort of shred and you need healing reduction. Vel'Koz has been buffed last patch. He's actually really good now. Make sure that you give him items as well, and you can even 3-star him if the opportunity arises. Orianna comes out for Ahri on once you find her, and then you play a Heimerdinger on level 8, or a Scion, or a Aatrox. Just any like extra tank or any good units. This is like the AP version, the magic damage version of Challengers, even though there's like Kaisa and Challengers, but this is like the AP magic damage version of it. So instead of open swords, you now go for Rod. If you have no open component, you can always make use of Rod in this comp. Jewel Gauntlets, Rabadons, Ionic Spark, Archangels. Archangels is okay, but basically you just have infinite things to use with Rod, so always go for Rod if you have no open components. And then best legends, Poro, Earth, any of the like Sork or like AP catered augments, or the Sork spat from Earth. And then they'll be going on the Sona, and you just want Sona to cast as much as possible, so you don't really care about damage for her, you'll just give her a Shojin. Okay, and that's it. So that is patch 13.17. Not too many like crazy changes. I think they're just like starting to prep a lot for 9.5, but that's it. Now we have some time for questions.